This is Chandler with a Grappling Conjecture. Less than 24 hours ago, the brackets for CGI were released, so I thought we'd look at them and go over them, and also I'll kind of predict who I think is going to win each division. So at the top we have the under 80 kilogram bracket, and at the bottom we have the plus 80 kilogram bracket. So let's go and do the plus 80 kilogram bracket first. I think that's maybe the easier one, and then we'll get to the under 80 kilogram bracket. So let's do the big boys first. Okay, so the way this was done was the top 4 seeds are in the corners, and then everyone else is picked randomly. So the top 4 seeds were Nicky Rod, Victor Hugo, William Tackett, and Luke Rockhold. You're probably wondering, like, how do they get those? And they were just voted by people, I think, on Craig's Instagram. So that's what we have. So let's take a look, and let's do the left side of the bracket first. I'll go over who I think will win, and then we'll talk about the finals. The first match we see here is Nicky Rod versus Max Jimenez. Max Jimenez is very good, but I'm going to have to take Nicky Rod on this. I think he's going to move forward fairly easily. I think it's just a bad style matchup for Max. Next we have Owen Livesey versus Muhammad Ali. This one could be close. We haven't seen Muhammad Ali compete in a while, and Owen Livesey is a bit more active, but Owen Livesey is a little bit smaller. I think I call him Livesey. I don't know if it's Livesey or Livesey. Either way, I think he's probably going to lose to Muhammad Ali, just a better jiu-jitsu competitor and much larger. After that, we have Adam Bradley versus Kyle Bain. This one's a little bit hard to pick, but I think I'm going to go with Adam Bradley, just being a little bit more well-rounded. Kyle Bain has a specific game. He's really good at leg locks. He's good on the back, but outside of that, he can kind of get complacent and can't really impose his game sometimes. I think Adam Bradley will be able to escape those leg locks and pull out a win. Finally, we have Pat Downey versus Luke Rockhold. I think Luke Rockhold will pull this off, but you never know. But I think Luke Rockhold will get this just based on better submission skills. Now, if we go back up here, we should have Nicky Rod versus Muhammad Ali. I think Nicky Rod's going to take this again. Muhammad Ali should be smaller than the first time they fought, and Nicky Rod beat him when he was just a blue belt, so I think he'll definitely beat him now, especially considering Muhammad Ali isn't competing all that often in grappling. I'm not sure if he's competing at all in grappling outside of this, so got Nicky Rod moving ahead there into the semifinals. Next, we have Adam Bradley versus Luke Rockhold. This one's really hard. I think they actually might be training together at B Team right now. I might take Rockhold just because he has better takedown skills, so he might be able to beat him there. That one's kind of iffy. I wouldn't be surprised if Bradley won, but I'm going to take Rockhold. Now going to the semifinals, it's going to be Nicky Rod versus Luke Rockhold. I'm going to take Nicky Rod again. It's just bigger, stronger. Although Nicky Rod said he sparred Luke Rockhold recently and had some problems with him, I think Nicky Rod's going to be able to pull that off. And so I think he's going to go into the finals. So that's my pick for this side of the bracket. Now we're going to take a look at the other side. And over here, the first match is Victor Hugo versus Lucas Kennard. I've seen a few of Lucas's matches recently. He looks good, very well-rounded, good leg locks, but Victor Hugo's just too good, too big, etc. I think Lucas Kennard is maybe, was it under 88 kilograms for 80cc, but Victor Hugo is huge and very, very skilled. So I'm going to Victor Hugo there. Next one we have is Ignacio Santos versus Pedro Alex. I'm going to go with Pedro Alex Boom just because he's just bigger, more explosive. Ignacio Santos kind of has like a similar game, but he's not as big and he's not as fast. So I'm going to pick Pedro Alex for this. I think he's just going to be able to, bully him and, run him around the ring. So I'm going with Pedro Alex. Next ones, we have Daniel Kerkvliet versus Felipe Andrew. This one's a little bit hard. Daniel Kerkvliet is probably the best athlete in here, and he's huge. I believe he's like 280 pounds. The problem is he doesn't have such a good BJJ background. I'm afraid he's just going to get subbed soon. So Felipe Andrew, I think, is not so good in no-gi, to be honest, but he has good jiu-jitsu. And I think he's just going to be able to, submit him. Felipe Andrew is a submission hunter, and I think Daniel Kerkvliet is probably maybe one of the easiest people to tap, not just because of the lack of jiu-jitsu skills, but also because he probably cares about his legs and his arms, because I think he's going to try to do another NCAA D1 title next year, so he doesn't want a broken leg, he doesn't want a broken arm or anything. So I think if Felipe Andrew like grabs his leg, he's just going to immediately tap out. So I'm picking Felipe Andrew. And the last match we have is João Gabriel Rocha versus William Tackett. I want Tackett to win, but I think João Gabriel Rocha is just too big. João Gabriel Rocha has been submitted by leg locks before, and William Tackett's very good at this, but I think João Gabriel Rocha is like 260 or something. He's one of the bigger people in here, and I think it's just going to be too much for William Tackett. João Gabriel Rocha also does have good jiu-jitsu on top of being large. So I think they're the same size. Tackett might beat him, but they're not even close to the same size. So I'm going to go with Rocha here. Going back up to the top, the second match in the quarterfinals should be Victor Hugo versus Pedro Alex. I'm going to go with Victor Hugo here. I think he is more dangerous with submissions, has the better guard, and I think he's just better gi and no gi. So I have to go with Victor Hugo. Next we have Daniel Kirk, or actually Felipe Andrew versus João Gabriel Rocha. This one's a little bit hard. I'm going to go with João Gabriel Rocha just because he's bigger and Felipe Andrew doesn't seem so comfortable in no-gi. I think João Gabriel Rocha will be able to avoid some of the leg locks and probably just maybe smash him a bit, especially with the wall there. So I'm going with João Gabriel Rocha. And then the semifinals should be Victor Hugo versus João Gabriel Rocha. I have to go with Victor Hugo again. Just Victor Hugo is the same size, if not bigger than João Gabriel Rocha. I think he has a better guard, and I think he has better submission skills. So Victor Hugo. So for the over 80 kilogram division, I think it's going to be Nicky Rod and Victor Hugo in the finals. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Am I crazy? But I think that's how it's going to go. We'll see. Let's move on now to the division everybody's been waiting for, and that's the under 80 kilogram bracket. As I said before, the top 4 people were chosen by Instagram votes, I think, and those were Tai Ruotolo, Cade Ruotolo, Joseph Chin, and Nicky Ryan. There are a good number of people that disagreed with this. To be honest, I kind of disagreed with it as well, but it is what it is, and this bracket's so stacked, I don't think it really matters. I mean, the best people are going to have to kind of face each other anyway, so let's look into it and let's see who is facing who in the first round. We're going to start with the left side again, and the first match we have is Tai Ruotolo versus Jason Nolf. This is actually kind of a difficult match for Tai Ruotolo. He generally likes to play from top position, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get there with Jason Nolf, but who knows. I thought he wasn't going to be able to get on top against Isaac Michel either, and you saw what happened there. So even though this is a kind of a bad matchup for Tai, I think he's going to win. Jason Nolf is a very good athlete and a great wrestler, but I think his time in jiu-jitsu just isn't enough to beat Tai Ruotolo. So I have Tai moving on here. Looking at the next match, we have Roberto Jimenez versus Levi Jones-Leary. This one is kind of an even match. I don't really know what's going to happen. I think I'm going to pick Roberto Jimenez though, just because he's a little bit more aggressive and can push the pace more. So I think he might win just on activity, but I wouldn't be surprised if Levi Jones-Leary takes his back with some kind of berimbolo or slick back take and wins it, but I'm going to go with Roberto. Next up, we have Lucas Hulk Barbosa versus Kenta Iwamoto. Kenta is very good, and he actually impressed me with his wrestling at last ADCC when he took down JT Torres, but I think Lucas Barbosa is just too much. Lucas Barbosa is also very good at wrestling, and he's just much bigger. I know he's going to be cutting down to make 80 kilos, but I think he's just going to be too big and too powerful. So I think Kenta may not be able to do anything with him. I think something that might help Kenta though is just the rules. He might be able to just attack so many submissions he wins, but I'm going to go with Lucas here. And finally we have Andy Varela versus Joseph Chin. This is a somewhat even match, but recently Joseph beat Andy, and I'm going to go with Joseph again. So since he just beat him, I think he'll be able to beat him again. I think he's just more versatile, has more tools in the toolbox, so I'm going to go with Joseph. Coming back up to the top, we have now Tai Ruotolo versus Roberto Jimenez. This is a good one. I think that Roberto has actually beaten Tai once, but it was close. It might have been one of those ones where they like gave it to Roberto and then maybe they had to go back and change it to a draw or something. But I think this will be close. But I think now Tai is older. I think this was before he was 18 when this happened. So I think now that Tai is older and a little bit bigger, I think he's probably going to beat Roberto. But who knows? Roberto, we'll see if his leg lock defense holds up in this tournament. He's been looking really good recently. He hasn't been subbed by a leg lock in a while, but you never know. Tai might test him there. So I'm going to go with Tai. Next, we have Lucas Barbosa versus Joseph Chin. Joseph, I think, is a bit more technical, and he's definitely more versatile than Lucas, but I think Lucas might just be too big. I think Lucas might be able to just bully him. Joseph Chin doesn't keep a particularly high pace, and I think without that, he's not going to be able to beat Lucas. If he can get Dima to make a game plan where he can seem very active, he might be able to beat him on activity, but if he plays like he normally does, I think Lucas is going to just bully him and beat him. So then in the semifinals, it's going to be Tai Ruotolo versus Lucas Barbosa. This one's very hard because I could see Lucas actually beating Tai. They're former training partners. I think Lucas has his own academy, so he may not be training at Atos so much now, but he might know his game and he might be able to just big brother him. You know, sometimes when somebody knows your game and you train with them and you got beat by them for so many years as a kid, sometimes even when you're an adult, you can't beat him even when you should. So that said, I'm going to pick Tai just because he's been more active. I think he'll be able to beat Lucas. Maybe he might not win all of the exchanges, but he might just beat him on activity, throwing up buggy chokes, trying to catch him in leg locks, etc. He might be able to beat him. So you have to remember, this is no points. Lucas is great with points, like holding people down, stopping the movement, but that's not really going to help him here, especially because they're going to have stalling calls too. So that could go against him. And he might actually lose earlier than the semifinals because of that. So he's going to have to adjust his style if he wants to win. So because of that, I'm going to choose Tai, but that could kind of go either way. Let's look at the other side of the bracket now. On this side of the bracket, we have another Ruotolo, and this time he's going against Mateus Diniz. So Cade Ruotolo against Mateus Diniz. This is a bit of a hard one to call. Mateus Diniz should have a sizable size and strength advantage, but lots of people have a size and strength advantage on Cade, and he's still able to beat them, so it's hard to say. If this was a ADCC match, I might actually choose Mateus, but due to the rules, I think I'm going to choose Cade here. Mateus is kind of off and on, and even when he is on, Mateus Diniz doesn't keep a high pace, so I think he's one of the people that is really in danger of getting stalling calls. And I think he might just lose because of lack of activity. I wouldn't be surprised if Cade, just jumps guard and tries buggy chokes or something like that, and Mateus thinks he can hold him in side control and win and ends up losing a decision. So I'm going to choose Cade just due to higher activity. I think he'll be able to get him. Next up, we have Renato Canuto versus Tommy Langacker. This is a really good match. I think both of them are really exciting fighters, and I think this is going to be a real war. But we've actually already seen this maybe a year, 2 years ago, and Tommy Langacker came out on top and beat Renato Canuto. He didn't sub him, but he didn't really dominate him either. It was kind of back and forth, and then Tommy Langacker was kind of able to outpoint him in the end. I think the same thing is going to happen. I think Tommy will probably be able to beat him again. But who knows? Renato has a good chance of subbing him because he can kind of just jump on something at any time. But Tommy doesn't really like to tap to joint lock, so Renato might have to choke him. So we'll see. But I think this will definitely be one of the highlights of the event, if nothing else. Next up, we have Majid Haig versus Owen O'Flanagan. This is also a really good one. I think Owen's going to take this just because they kind of have similar styles. Both of them like to play from guard, but I think Owen is just a little bit more dangerous, and more importantly, he's much, much bigger than Majid Haig. Majid Haig is, I think, one of the smaller people here, whereas Owen is one of the bigger people. So just due to that, I think Owen might be able to catch him just in a leg lock or something, if not just by more activity. So I'm picking Owen. Finally, I think this is the big one. It's Andrew Tackett versus Nicky Ryan. Apparently these two trained together, but I haven't seen any footage of it, so I don't know who got the better of who. Nicky Ryan, if he's 100% on, I think he can take Andrew Tackett, but I think Andrew will probably beat him just due to cardio. Andrew Tackett is much more aggressive on the feet, and he's very aggressive with his guard passing. So unless Nicky Ryan can take him down and keep him down, he's probably in lots of trouble. I think even if he manages to take Andrew Tackett down, Andrew will probably scramble and get out, and I think Nicky Ryan will just gas himself out trying to keep up with Andrew Tackett. And because of that, I'm picking Andrew Tackett. I think Andrew Tackett's going to take it. Might be hard, but I think he's going to take it. Going back up to the top, we have Cade Ruotolo versus Tommy Langacker. Not too much to say here. They fought twice recently, and Cade beat him both times. First time was kind of close. Second time, less so. I think they fight a third time. I think it's going to be even bigger gap than it was before. So I'm going to pick Cade again. At the bottom, we'll have Owen O'Flanagan versus Andrew Tackett. This is an interesting one. Owen O'Flanagan should have a size advantage, but I think one of the problems is Andrew Tackett is just faster, and I don't think he's so susceptible to leg locks. Owen fought his brother William Tackett and lost, which I was surprised about. I thought Owen might take it, but William was able to come up with a game plan of kind of north-south passing and outside passing that was able to really stifle Owen and eventually pass his guard. I think Andrew is even better at outside passing than William Tackett, so if William was able to do it, Andrew might be able to do the same thing and might be worse. Andrew keeps a higher pace, so we'll see. So this is a little bit hard because Owen is bigger, so maybe he can catch him with something, but I'm going to go with Andrew Tackett. In the semifinals, we should have Cade Ruotolo versus Andrew Tackett. These two actually have very similar styles. They don't really gas out. So this is almost like a mirror match. This is probably almost going to be like two Ruotolos against each other. But I'm going to have to go with Cade. I believe Cade has beat him before. This when they're younger, but still, I think he's just beaten better opponents overall and looked more solid than Andrew has, although Andrew has been looking really good recently. So I'm just going to go with Cade just due to their strength of schedule, I guess. So there you go. And with that, in the finals, you should have Cade versus Tai Ruotolo, but this one's hard to predict. I would be not surprised at all if we saw somebody else. It was Andrew Tackett versus Tai Ruotolo or Cade Ruotolo versus Lucas Barbosa or something. None of that would surprise me. So I think even the first one for Cade Ruotolo, he's my pick for the final, but I wouldn't be shocked if he lost to Mateus Denise. Mateus Denise is a lot bigger than him, so he could just take him down and lay on him and rough him up the whole time and win. So I think in here, anybody can win. So let me know down below, who is your pick? Who do you think is going to win? I think is really up for grabs in this division, but I even think the heavyweight, you never know what's going to happen. So be sure to watch it. I'll be covering this and I'll be doing stats, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't done that. Leave me a like, leave any comments down below, and until next time, see you.